Hello everyone, welcome to 2 and 3D. So today we're going to be converting our puppets. So we created this puppet in Adobe Illustrator, so we're going to be converting it into Photoshop, which is another advantage of using Adobe Illustrator, because Adobe Illustrator is a vector file, and I've explained this theory. I've explained it in a video that is titled, I think I titled it why I use Illustrator over Photoshop. So another advantage that I mentioned in that video was, okay, I actually did not mention this. You could convert your puppet directly from here. You could convert it into Photoshop. And I'm using the most complex character because most people's character are not this complex. And this is not the character I'll be using, by the way. Let me just move to the character that I'll be using. This character, this is Ken. So we're going to be converting this character, this AI puppet into a PSD puppet. So let's just start. Let me explain what I'm going to be doing. So right now, if I export this into Photoshop, because there is an option to come here. If you come here, file, you come to export as, you have this option available to you, PSD. So you could export as PSD. So, but when you do that, there are two issues that you will face. First issue is anything that is invisible, anything that is not visible, right, like right here, will not be exported. So if I export this right now, only this will be available and this will not be exported because this was invisible. And it goes down to other sub layers. So everything, this ref will not be available. Stuff like even when you open the eyes do have so many other like triggers and stuff like that are not visible. Like right here, they are not visible, so they will not be exported. Also, only these will be exported. And that is not what we want. We want everything to be exported. So I'm going to fix that. And the second problem that you will face is when you export, the Illustrator can only export, I think, like around that kind of 3 to 4, I think 3 to 4 sub layers. So this is number one layer. It will export this. It will export this layer. Also, that's the head layer. It might export this layer too, because this is like the fourth layer, but it will merge everything that is inside here. So anything that is under head, so it will export this layer, but anything here, so FFT and face would be one file. So it will just merge it, it will ignore every single thing that is here, all these naming conventions that are here, all these things, the iris, the mouth, and whatever. It will just merge everything. That is not what we want. Also, these are two problems that you would be facing if you are doing that directly, which makes my work a bit of a hassle. And that is why this is actually a tutorial that people need to watch. So, okay, so how do we get around that? So the first problem that I mentioned is visibility. So one thing that you have to do is you have to make everything in this character visible. And the good part with Adobe Illustrator is you do not have to go in and start making everything visible manually. There is a shortcut for that. But before we do that, let me just make this visible, and then so make these two layers visible because those are the two main layers. Let's just use our selection tool, direct selection tool, not just the selection tool. So this is selection tool, this is direct selection tool. Let's just select everything within it like this. So when you select everything, you could come to select here, click select, and then you see save selections. So when you save your selection, let's just keep this a default. Good. So now when you save the selection, this will help us so that we'll be able to get back to what we have here currently. So, okay. So now to make everything visible, you press Ctrl, Alt, and 3. So when you press Ctrl, Alt, 3, everything together, now everything becomes visible. Like every single thing, every single layer becomes visible. So now we have gotten around the first problem, the first issue that we had. Now we have gotten around that first issue. Now the second issue, because now everything is visible, so everything will export. So now the second issue is the third layer issue or the fourth layer issue or whatever number it is. So how to get around that is you have to manually create these layers. You have to manually create it. So let's create a bounding box around our character. So just make this, just outline, select this, just wrap your entire character, just try to wrap it like this is fine. And then let's create a new layer and place that in. So create this And this is how we'll be able to get added this. And then let's just save this. Let's save this because we need our character with this bounding box, so it needs to be the same with what we're adding. So it will make sense eventually. So export as Ken, export, yes, and the same option, just okay, and it will save. Okay, so now we have this, and now we are going to create a new file. So let's just save this, save as, let's save as, and then let's save it as can add. Can add. So it means we have can, and then we have can add. And I'm doing this just so that whenever there's a mix up or something like that, we can always come back to this file. So now we have this, and all I'm going to be doing now is I'll just create a new layer. Let's just work on just the frontal for now. So let's start with A. Let's forget about ref because we do not need this file in Photoshop. So let's just drag, let's double click this, take this name, so copy this name, come here, double click this. Oh no, that's our ignore that. So this is our ref, our line. Let's just do bounding box. Let's just name this bounding box. So okay, so now let's create a new layer, and then let's name this exactly this. So A. Let's just paste what we have there. Then now let's just copy everything in here, copy, paste it there, drag and drop it there. So now we have our A here as a new file. And all I'm just going to do, just to make our work easier, just delete this because it's really difficult exporting like this entire thing over and over again. So let's just select this and delete this. Delete your character and don't save it. Don't save it. All we need is this for now. So the A, that's all we need. So now let's export as PSD, can add PSD. So it should be a Photoshop file, export, but it should not be can. Don't name it can. So name it can add and export it, and the same settings. So exactly the same settings. Keep the same settings. Okay. So now let's move into Photoshop since we've done that now. So let's just go into Photoshop, and we have this. This is the old version without the bounding box. So, and even this is the old version without the bounding box. So let's just revert. Oh, let me touch something. Let's revert to the newer version of this can, and then let's revert can add to. It will take a while because okay, no, it didn't actually. So this with the bounding box that we have, that is this layer here. So that's good. So now let's come to can add and let's revert it so that we'll get the newer version of this. Perfect. So now we have this with the bounding box, and if this is exactly the same with this. The bounding box are exactly the same size. And how you'll be able to know this is whatever I copy here and then I paste in place, it will be placed exactly where it's supposed to be here. So now we have our arm and we have it with its children. So IB is there and IB 1, 2, 3, and they have their children, and it stops at the exact place that I want it. So these are the layers that I need. I don't need these to be merged, and these I do need to be merged. All this group and this live paint and whatever, I just need those to be merged together. So that's fine like that. Okay, so now all we just need to do is copy this and place it in actual can, and we're going to be doing this one after the other just so that we do not confuse ourselves. So before I do that, I want all these to, I just wanted the defaults to be available to just be shown. So I don't want all these to, you have to turn this off manually. I know it's a bit stressful to do this, but there is no other option until I finish completing that script. That script will really help a lot, because maybe I'll be able to get this to just maybe a few clicks or so. Okay, so now we have everything in place. So let's just copy this, Control C, or you could come here and then come to edit and there's copy here, so copy, and then let's open Ken. Okay, we're already copying the arm A, so come here and then let's just put it into place. So you come to edit, come to paste special, and then paste in place. So when you do this, to paste it exactly at the point that you need it to be. So now all we just need to do is to open our frontal. Let's just make this invisible. So open our frontal, drag our arm A to where it's supposed to be, and then let's delete the old arm A. So delete group and content. So boom, and now we have this. So let's delete this ref. We do not need this ref, so let's just delete this. Okay, so now we're done with arm A, and because arm A is actually the frontal, because arm A is basically the same thing with arm B. In this case, it's just a flip version. All we just need to do is copy this arm A. We could just out and drag, out and drag, and you create a copy. I don't know if the copy would it write copy on everything. Okay, no, it seems to be working fine. Okay, yes, this is pretty fine. So all you just need to do is name this arm B. Let's just put B here. So it needs to be exactly it needs to be the same with this name. So now we're going to be flipping this arm B here. So let's just right click. Okay, it doesn't seem to be working that way. So let's come to edit, and we should have reflect somewhere around. Okay, transform, exactly. So transform, then we should have flip horizontal. So that's what we want. So flip horizontal, and it will flip the entire arm. Okay, now that it has flipped it, all we just need to do now is to place it exactly at this point. That's where this arm, the first arm is. So let's just, okay, so it's on auto select. I think that's why I've been having that issue. So let's just select that, and then select this. That's the point we want to move. So let's move that. So arm B, let's delete the one below, because that will be able to see what we're doing. So delete that one. Okay, so let's just further place it. So let's move this arm B. Let's move it a little bit to the right. Okay, I think it's fine this way. So okay, now we're done with arm A and arm B. So now we're going to create another Ken. So let's go back into Illustrator. We're going to create another Ken, but Ken art rather. But this time we'll be creating for his face, his facial features. So maybe we'll just do the entire face at once, just so that we know we're done with that. So it's the same procedure. You copy, you place. So let me just undo what we've done here. Okay, so I just want to get the entire character back. So now we're done with arm A. Let's just delete this. Okay, so let's just delete this. Okay, so now we will be working. Let's just delete arm B because we're done with down two. Now let's work on his face. So already in the file we have this head and we have head, but the problem we're having is this FFT and this FFT and face are merged together, and that's what we need to fix. Let's create a new layer and just drag this in, FFT and face. Let's just drag them in, and since the hierarchy that we need is up to, I think this is on the third or so, I think this should be fine. I don't think we need to worry much about this one. If we do, we'll need to move certain things around and just work on those specifically. But for now, let's just delete this and export again. So let's delete and export. And this time we're trying to export the features for his face. So export as can PSD add whatever, export yes, and the same thing. The bounding box will still be there too, because the bounding box is what will give Photoshop. It what will make Photoshop know where to place it in space, in 2D space. Okay, so back in Photoshop, all we just need to do is to revert. So revert. This can add, not can PSD. Do not revert can PSD, because everything you have worked on just disappear. In fact, let's go and save can PSD. Like, let's save it this way so that we do not have to worry about reverting or something. Just save that quickly. Okay, and then let's go back to this, and let's just make sure every feature is available with its everything inside it. So FFT, let's open the eyebrow, and because the eyebrow do have layers, you see this has merged, 2 and 1 has merged, and that is, we need this to be separate. So it means we have to export the eyebrow specially. So let's just move back to Illustrator and then do that quickly. So back in Illustrator, or any layer you're having this particular issue with. So in this case, the eyebrow, we need to create a special, like we need to create a new layer for that. So let's just drag the eyebrow to its own layer here. I'm duplicating it. I'm using Alt and dragging it. And from what I'm seeing, the eyes too might have the same issue. So let's just do the same for the eye. Create a new layer. Create it. Just make sure you create a new layer. Do just drag to create a new layer and drag this the eye over and the eye lid. We need to transfer both of these. So creating another layer. And we don't need to name it, but it's there. So just, and the reason I'm duplicating it is so that I'll be able to know which comes before which. So now I'm just going to export and go back into Photoshop. Okay, so in Photoshop, this is Photoshop, right? Okay, no, let's move to Photoshop. In Photoshop, now we have a character with the brow. Everything is set properly now because this is question. Okay, everything is set properly now. Everything seems to be nice and good. Okay, the blink is fine. That is the cycle of 1 and 2. So that's perfect. Okay, so now all we just need to do is each layer. So FFT is what we need to place everything in. So eyebrow, let's drag our eyebrow back to FFT, just above the old eyebrow, and delete the old eyebrow. Delete this, and it's the same thing we'll do for this and this. Okay, so now we can delete all these old layers since we don't need them anymore. Now we have our FFT and our face, and now we could just copy both like this, Control C, and come to but before that, let's unhide most of this just so that everything looks nice and clean. Okay, just a little issue. I forgot that the mouths, I made separate mouth shapes for this. So I'm just going to quickly go back to Illustrator and then fix this in just making separate layer, just exactly what we did to all these other features. We make a separate layer, and then you drag in the mouth there, and then it will export those layer with all these unmerged, or this don't need this merged. So just do that quickly. Okay, so we seem to okay, this is what we have so far because we've exported, and I forgot to move that. So now what we're going to be doing is we're going to be doing his other face, and that's his left profile, front. No, this is the frontal face. So the side face, that's this one. Okay, so this is what we're going to be working on, and we're going to just speed through all this because it's the same process, just exactly the same thing, the same way of exporting it. I'm just breaking it just so that you understand. You could do this at once. You could just sort everything out in Illustrator and then export it and do it at once. But I'm doing it one after the other so you'll be able to understand the process, and you will not be overwhelmed by the amount of a lot of information. So it's just the same process. So just keep watching. I'm just going to speed through most of this. Okay, so we're basically done with our character. So just take it back to frontal. Oh god, the summary of this is: do not use Photoshop for complex, especially complex character like this is really complex. So if it was maybe a character that just needs draggables, yeah, then you could easily move from Illustrator to Photoshop. Even though this is actually easy, it's just for you to get the hang of it. You do it 1 or 2 times, eventually you become like a pro. You'll be able to like do everything within a very short time. So don't just, you could use Photoshop. And right now these are actually bitmaps, so you could actually draw on it, do whatever you want to do on it, put shadings, put whatever on these characters. But don't forget to delete this what is it called, the bounding box we created. So just delete that, and after deleting that, it will still remain, but the bounding box will still remain, but it's fine, it's better, because that is not, it will not be good there. Right now, because we already have our puppet .puppet file, something similar to this one. We made the Donald Trump version, and we're about to make the Kamala Harris version. So all you just need to do is replace this, or you just need to replace that source file, that's the AI file, with this one, and boom, automatically everything translates to this one. Every rigging you have done, every trigger you have added, you don't need to do it again. And at the end of this video, I'm definitely going to show you this character, maybe while the character walking and everything. I'm actually going to speed through up to the rigging process, but for now I think I'm done with making this character, so I'm not going to speak anymore. But if you want to watch how I ended up adding it into Character Animator and creating the puppet from it, fine, you could just continue watching the video. It will be like a time lapse all through. But for now, thank you for watching. Please give us a like, give us a sub to help us reach way more people, and to also help us reach you more content like this in the future. Thank you, and bye for now.